How swiftly can a snake, a crocodile, and a tiger attack? What are gorillas and rhinos capable of when enraged? All the answers are in this video. This is wildlife, and in this episode I'll show you a horse attacking a man, a wolf getting revenge on hunters, an incredible battle of giraffes, a hippo chasing a boat, dangerous moments with bears, crocodiles, rhinos, and even a kangaroo. Sit back and relax as we get started. Snake. Do you think it's possible to escape from such a snake attack on the road? Even if you're a first-class runner, is it possible to escape from a painful bite? Personally, I think it's almost unrealistic. Snakes are too fast and cunning. Besides, they can hide not only somewhere on the road, but in the most unexpected places. For example, here a surveillance camera captured a woman who was working on her property. She was sawing a hedge a little off and didn't even notice how she almost hit a snake. The reptile didn't like it and attacked the woman sharply. It all happened very suddenly and quickly. You can't even really see it on the footage, but the snake managed to bite the woman. Fortunately, it wasn't that bad. The woman was treated and survived. Tiger. If you have a house cat and it likes to play with you, then you know how these fluffy creatures like to ambush you. The pet hides somewhere and then rushes on its owner. At most, it might end up with a couple of scratches, but not in the case of a big cat. Tigers play just like domestic cats, but in a much more serious way, with the goal of finishing off their prey. In this footage, bikers were riding peacefully down a road in India when suddenly, out of nowhere, a Bengal tiger jumped out. The predator ran straight at the guys trying to attack, and only a split second separated it from the target. Incredible luck for the bikers. By the way, tigers, like other big cats, tend to attack their prey when its back is turned to them. Here's a great example. Children are standing in front of some enclosure with a large tiger in it. They're having fun and laughing and don't even know that they're already being hunted. A couple of seconds later, the tiger rushes out to attack, and only the armored glass stops it from 3 easy targets. You mustn't turn your back on big cats, and that's what this trainer showed with his experiment. Though the big cats love him, their instincts take over, and every time they tend to pounce on the man from behind. By the way, for this reason, many people, when entering the forest in India, wear a mask with eyes on the back of their heads. This fools the tigers and reduces the likelihood of attacks. But not only predatory animals are capable of attacking humans, even such cuties as squirrels are capable of it. Here's just one of them. It comes up to people and they probably think it just wants to ask for food, but it's just a deceptive maneuver. The squirrel suddenly climbs up the cameraman's leg and instantly attacks his head. There was no damage. After all, squirrels are small creatures. And how can you feed these funny rodents in the woods and parks after that? Fish. A fish caught out of the water is only half the battle. Don't relax, even if you caught a small fish, otherwise this may happen. This aquatic creature seems to have accepted its fate and realized that today it'll be someone's dinner. But in the end, it showed itself in all its glory and slapped the fisherman in the face. After that, the brave fish can proudly become a dinner. Moose. In general, moose are fairly calm animals. They can often be found on roads and roadsides, but they don't cause much harm to drivers. However, this is not always the case. This moose literally went berserk. It went out on the roadway, went to the car, and started waving its hooves. The driver was lucky. He managed to go back in time, otherwise it would have taken him a long time to fix the car because moose are huge and very strong animals. See for yourself. Bear. Like moose, bears are relatively peaceful animals. Contrary to many stereotypes, they don't attack people that often, and when they do, you can't expect good things. This hunter experienced the scariest day of his life. He saw a black bear on the road. All he had in his hands is a camera, a bow, and arrows. Not the best equipment to fend off an attack by the giant predator. And then the action begins. The bear suddenly takes off, runs toward the hunter, and knocks him to the ground. He screams and tries to scare the bear, but to no avail. It seems that everything will end like in a scene from Survivor, where a bear badly beat Leonardo DiCaprio's character, but luckily it's not like that. The bear ran away and the hunter escaped with only a bruised elbow. Elephant. Next up is another animal that's generally considered to be calm. Again, generally speaking it is. Elephants will not attack humans or animals for no reason, but if they're defending territory or in a condition of mush, which is a hyper-aggression, they'll show themselves in all their glory. This elephant tried to attack the guide who entered its territory. Suddenly it took off and rushed toward the man, but fortunately that was the end of it. The elephant tried to attack a few more times but never got to the point. The guide was doing everything right and didn't provoke the giant. But once the elephant got going, nothing can stop it. This Indian giant went berserk during the festival and decided to go all out on everything that was nearby. It crushed several motorcycles and literally destroyed 2 cars all the way down. Ram. Never underestimate rams. They may not be as dangerous as, say, bulls, but they can give you hell with their horns. A biker was riding along a road in the woods when he suddenly ran into a patrol. The road was blocked by a horned beast. The ram wouldn't let the guy pass and then suddenly attacked his motorcycle. It hit him so hard that the guy even fell off the bike. They both played peekaboo for a while, but the ram got tired of it. Now it attacked the guy himself. He took the blow on his hands and they began to wrestle. The ram attacked the man a few more times and the latter had no choice but to run back to the bike and find a workaround. By the way, afterwards that ram found the guy's house and started coming to visit him, and later it moved in with him and they became friends. Now you know how friendships begin. Rhino. It's unpleasant when a ram rushes at you, but when you're up against a giant rhino, it's just really scary. A tourist in Kruger National Park in South Africa came upon a rhino walking around its territory. At first, the rhino didn't pay attention to the car, but as soon as it started moving, it got into a stand and ran towards the tourist. It seemed to only scare him, but when the car drove off again, it suddenly rushed towards it and managed to hit the back of the car with its horns. The driver still managed to escape from the giant. Horse. Do you think the most a horse can do is throw off a rider, kick someone with its hoof, or bite someone's hand? No way. This guy was unlucky enough to experience a sudden attack from an angry horse. The animal went berserk and started literally kicking and smashing the guy. It dragged him by the scruff of his neck and arms, bit him, trampled him, kicked him. In short, it did whatever it wanted. Luckily, it couldn't finish the poor guy off, but only hurt him a few times before it ran away. Crocodile. Crocodiles are dangerous creatures, but everything changes when you're in a car. That must have been the thinking of the author of this video who drove up to the crocodile. It was small and the author was sitting in a car, so he thought the reptile wouldn't do anything to him and he'd get scared and run away. But instead, the crocodile suddenly attacked the car, ripping off the bumper and damaging the front of the car. Never underestimate crocodiles, especially if it's in its native habitat, a water body. Many animals have been convinced of this more than once. If you can't see a crocodile in the water, it doesn't mean it's safe. It can attack anyone in the blink of an eye, just like this elephant at the watering hole. The reptile clung to the giant's trunk and dragged it into the water. Only the elephant's incredible power prevented it from becoming a prey. It managed to throw the crocodile off and escape to a safe place on land. Pit bulls. It's one thing when sudden attacks occur in the wild, it's quite another when it comes to an ordinary city street. In this footage, we see a cat lying quietly in its yard enjoying the fresh air. Notably, a girl walks by with 2 pit bulls. Suddenly, the 2 pit bulls snap and pounce on the cat. They start smashing the poor animal while the girl doesn't even rush to get up. Only a few seconds later, she comes up to her powerful pets and tries to pull them away from the cat, but to no avail. They took the matter seriously. The cat had to escape on its own, getting under the car from the last of its strength. This heartbreaking footage was hard to watch, but the story has a good ending. According to the cat's owner, the brave animal survived, even though it suffered several injuries. Cats are truly brave and reckless creatures. Some can survive an attack by 2 powerful pit bulls, while others can get into a fight with a bear. This cat was sitting on the porch and had no idea who was behind it. The bear comes closer, starts sniffing the fluffy creature, but the cat suddenly snaps at it. At this point, the cat should have retreated and gone into the house, but it does something more sudden and takes a sharp swing at the bear. And now the bear itself retreats and the cat continues to rest on the porch. After such an episode, the bear should be somehow rehabilitated in our eyes. Let its northern congener do it. In this beautiful footage, we see a typical Arctic landscape. Ice floes, snow, a cold sea, and a resting seal. Calm and grace reign. But all of a sudden, it's interrupted by a sharp attack of a bear from an ambush. The predator gracefully emerges from under the water and attacks the seal. The seal manages to jump into the sea. It looks as if it escaped at the very last moment, but it did not. The bear caught up with the seal underwater and grabbed it there. The predator came to the surface with the trophy. Ostrich. Ostriches are considered to be harmless and cowardly birds that do nothing but run around in Africa and stick their heads in the sand. To a certain extent, they are. They're non-conflictive creatures which never attack first. But don't forget that the ostrich is the largest bird in the world, which has not only a huge size but also sharp claws. It's better to stay away from such a giant. But this man doesn't think so. First, he pesters the ostrich from behind the fence, sticking his hand out and plucking the bird. Soon he reaches into the enclosure and punches the ostrich on its long neck. Of course, the bird didn't like this boorish behavior. It caught up with the rude man and threw him to the ground. Ironically, it was the neck that became the vengeful weapon. What a great example of karma. Baboon. Ostrich's neighbors in Africa, baboons are much more belligerent creatures. While the ostrich can tolerate a little abuse, baboons fight back immediately. And if they can't do it directly, they find some ways. For example, here we see footage from an American zoo. Two girls walk by an enclosure in which a baboon is sitting. The girls try to get its attention. At first, they call out to it. Then they start teasing the primate, and then they throw rocks at it. At first, the baboon tried to behave calmly and decently, but its patience quickly ran out. The monkey became furious, started kicking the bars, screaming, and then threw feces at the girls and the cameraman, who happened to be their father. The throw was very accurate. The projectiles went straight into the little rude girls, who were very upset. Well, at least now they'll know not to play around with baboons. Orangutan. And here's a relative of the baboon, the orangutan. More specifically, the female orangutan. The action again takes place in a zoo of some kind. We see a female orangutan asking for a banana from a man standing in front of it. He mimics the primate's gesture, but in the end, the man does throw the female one banana. The visitor waits patiently for the primate to unwrap the banana and eat it. The monkey then throws the peel back and demands a second banana. Over the next few seconds, the female orangutan asks for a second banana, but the male refuses. Then the monkey picks up a stone and throws it at the greedy man. The visitor had to quickly take cover behind a stone wall from such a bombardment. Of course, this cannot be called a full-fledged revenge, but still the visitor got it. He shouldn't have gone stingy on a banana. Wolf. Next up is a more serious case. It happened in Kazakhstan several years ago. A group of hunters tracked down a wolf and shot the poor animal, after which it dropped dead. The men were delighted with the precious trophy and began to take pictures and videos of it. But that wasn't enough for them, and they began to mock the wolf. One of the hunters kicked the carcass of the animal. Suddenly, the wolf jumped up, snarled, and pounced on the offender. It turned out that the wolf had been pretending to be dead all the time. The hunter backed away and the predator threw him into the snow. The next few seconds were total chaos and it wasn't clear what was going on, but by all appearances the wolf was eliminated after all. This was later confirmed by the hunters themselves. The hunter who had mocked the wolf was all right, but the wolf had died. However, he'd still managed to stand up for itself and stir the pot in the end. The fact that wolves can fight back if people hurt them is not surprising. What's more interesting is that seemingly harmless creatures are capable of it too. Swans, for example. But in fact, swans are not such simple birds, especially black swans. They know how to stand up for themselves. For example, in this footage, a golfer pested a couple of black swans. The guy just wanted to chase the birds off the golf course to play and started pushing them. The birds didn't like this behavior. Soon, the swans themselves began to push the guy. One of the birds went all the way and literally drove the golfer away, who was so unceremoniously poking the feathered creatures. And here's another incident. Here we are on the golf course again, and there's the swan again. These birds seem to be very fond of golf, and they really don't like to be pestered by golfers. Apparently, the man was trying to get the ball that had rolled down toward the swan and was gently clawing it with its club, but he must have accidentally hit the swan, or the bird just didn't like the intrusion. Either way, the bird became angry and pounced on the golfer, dropping him to the ground. When the man got up, he swung at the bird and the swan decided it hadn't taught the rude man enough, so it attacked him again. And they also say golf is a quiet game. Elephant. Swans don't like golfers, and elephants don't like photographers. Well, at least this elephant doesn't like them. This cute creature with a trunk apparently was fed up with the fact that no one plays with it and that people only want photos from it. So another tourist came up to the animal with the obsession of taking a selfie. But the little elephant wasn't in the mood. First, it abruptly lowered its front limbs from the wall, hitting the guy, as if hinting that it didn't want it to take pictures. And then it kicked him when the guy tried to take a selfie. It was hilarious. And the guy was lucky it was a little elephant. Imagine what would have happened if it had been an adult giant elephant. Ram. Teasing an animal is not a good idea. Especially it's not a good idea to tease animals with food, and especially if you do it with a ram. In general, rams are not the most confrontational creatures and will not attack for no reason. But sometimes they can use their horns. In this footage, we see how the shepherd of a herd of rams decided to tease his animals with food. One of the rams didn't like this behavior and decided to get his revenge by rushing to the man. The ram started goring and pushing. The shepherd had a bag that he used as a shield, otherwise such blows with horns wouldn't pass without a trace. Soon the ram was joined by other members of the herd, which increased the pressure. It seemed that altogether they were about to kill the man, but the shepherd stopped messing around, began to reprimand the herd, and the rams and sheep scattered. While the shepherd was chasing rams, half the world away the relatives of these cloven-hoofed animals were not letting themselves be heard either. Llamas are nice enough creatures with funny muzzles, but you shouldn't be fooled by their appearance. In case anything happens, they can stand up for themselves. For example, here a boy got into the llama's enclosure and started to make it uncomfortable. At first, he started stroking the llama, which obviously didn't want to see anyone, and then he stood right in front of the animal. The long eye contact didn't please the llama and it spit right in the boy's face, splashing him with a big splash. The same thing happened in this footage, taken in winter in some pen. The llama didn't like the fact that the girl followed it everywhere and mimicked its gait. The llama waited a moment and rewarded the girl with a spit. And here are a couple of llamas that love to spit too, but in this case the girl didn't do anything wrong but only tried to feed the cute creatures. They're obsessed with spitting. But what's surprising if llamas are direct relatives of camels? And here's another feeding scene, only this time the protagonist is a giraffe. The action takes place in a zoo of some kind. The father and mother stand together with their son near a small fence behind which giraffes live. The mother gives a large leaf of some plant to the boy and he in turn gives the food to the giraffe. Of course, the giraffe wants to take the leaf and raise its head, but the boy for some reason doesn't let the leaf out of his hands. Then the giraffe decided to teach the boy a lesson and lifted him into the air. He was saved only by the parents' reaction, who managed to catch their child. Otherwise, the child would fly 16 feet up. The episode turned out a little tense, but overall funny. The giraffe got a treat, and the family got bright and unforgettable emotions. By the way, did you know that giraffes can fight? Like the ostrich I showed at the beginning of this episode, they use their long necks to knock their opponent down. The opponent is usually another giraffe. These creatures do not control their limbs as well as their necks, which cannot be said for kangaroos. These marsupials are excellent boxers, as good as Tyson or Ali. Kangaroos also know how to perform chokeholds. This kangaroo was strangling a dog, and the male protagonist of the video noticed it. He ran out of the car and scared the kangaroo. The dog ran away and the man decided to teach the marsupial a little lesson and slapped it. The kangaroo was shocked by this action and literally numbed. Soon everyone was gone, but the story didn't end there. That same day, the kangaroo somehow got a fix on the offender's address and came to his house to sort it out. It's unknown how that ended. Bulls. In this video, the bull, like a real police inspector, blocks the road of a passing car and examines it carefully. When the animal moved away from the roadway and the danger seemed to be over, the bull decided to hurry the driver by hitting the side of the car with its powerful horns. And this footage even turned out to be hilarious. A group of friends drove along a road that lay across a field where a herd of bulls was grazing. One of them, interested in the guests, came to the open window of the car and, poking its huge head through, began begging for a tasty treat. One was not enough for it, of course. Who would like that? No wonder it followed the car, waiting for the next treat. And here the buffalo had already attacked a passing car. The driver clearly shouldn't have stopped near these huge animals, but he paid for his mistake with the crumpled side of the car. Hippos. Hippos are not as harmless and cute animals as they're often described in children's books. Because of its large size and aggressive behavior, the hippo is considered one of the most dangerous animals for humans in Africa and in the world in general. Cases of hippo attacks on humans are very frequent. It kills more people than lions, buffaloes, or leopards. The footage you're about to see is proof that the hippo is one of the most dangerous and aggressive animals to humans. People who were driving peacefully and enjoying their time on safari were in no way expecting a hippo to run out of nowhere and start ramming into their car. Luckily, the driver reacted quickly and stepped on the gas, so the hippo ran away with one last warning. And this video was both scary as hell and breathtaking. The owner of the motorboat noticed a tail behind him as he moved through the water, and it soon turned out to be a huge hippo. The animal comes out of the water for a second and then dives back under the water. It's still not clear how this encounter ended. Here, a group of tourists decided to stop to film the amazing animal in the wild, but the hippo didn't like it very much. However, it decided not to attack the car, but only approached intimidatingly, and fortunately the scuffle was avoided. An encounter with hippos can happen not only during a safari, but also like this, on an ordinary roadway. Seeing the approaching car, the animal rushes with all its might and strikes the hood. Fortunately, the cameraman's unharmed, but the same can't be said for his car. Here, the hippo is not happy with the car, which is standing peacefully nearby. It grabs the front of the car with its huge, massive jaw, almost tearing off the bumper. Even the lions which surrounded it and grabbed it didn't stop the furious animal. What do you think might be the most unusual outcome of an encounter with hippos? Share your guesses in the comments. And stay tuned to see bears, rhinos, elephants, and even goats attacking cars and more. Bears. If you live in an area where bears are fairly common, don't worry, bear attacks are relatively rare. Nevertheless, every year there are a couple of fatal encounters with bears. I think it's obvious that bears have impressive, colossal physical strength, so an attack can end up being fatal for humans. Cases of unprovoked bear attacks on humans are very rare, but the danger to humans is when a bear is disturbed in a bear's lair, wounded, or taken by surprise with its prey. Female bears with cubs are also dangerous. However, in most cases, bears are afraid of people and try to hide as soon as they feel their presence. Apparently, these attacks on people in cars are the exception to the rule. This footage was filmed by the owner of the pickup truck, who had no idea that after parking the car near the country house next to the woods, there could be not-so-pleasant consequences. Well, he only had to watch as the brown bear came out of the woods to scrutinize the things lying in the trunk. Apparently, at some point, the bear didn't like something, and before it continued to deal with an incomprehensible object, it emitted a warning growl. And this footage is straight from the Arctic. A bear's noticed a man in a transparent cabin and is trying to approach him by all means. It's pushing him with its paws and trying to break the glass with its teeth. In the background, you can hear the cameraman saying that the door, which the bear is trying to break, is the weakest point of the whole structure, and the strongest base is already starting to bend. Fortunately, when the predator realizes that it's too hard to get inside, it walks away. And this video is a major warning and cautionary tale for anyone who ever thought leaving their car in the woods, where no one seems to be around, was a good idea. The annoyed car owner is stunned by the tremendous damage the bear's done. It's literally broken and chewed up everything possible, both outside and inside. Elephants. The question of whether the largest land animal on the planet are dangerous to humans can be answered as follows. The elephant is known to be a herbivore. It doesn't attack warm-blooded creatures for the purpose of eating. Nevertheless, if it's in a bad mood for any reason, or if it's threatened by danger, it is capable of maiming any creature, including humans. These animals are especially dangerous during the mating season when they're emotionally excited and trying to show their females their strength and power. This video was taken in India during a safari tour. A young elephant quickly ran up to the people in an open off-roader and, as if threatened, stopped before pouncing on the vehicle. The tourists were greatly frightened and shocked by this behavior of the animal, but fortunately, everything turned out fine. Here, the elephant effortlessly overturned the car that got in its way. It's good that no one was in the car, but the damage to the car is enormous. Looking at this footage, you can't tell that the car weighs a ton or even 2, because the animal overturns it with incredible ease. And in this footage, the elephant decided to outdo its congeners and attack a passenger train. The animal was in the woods next to the rails and then got out and came right up to the train car with the train driver and interfered with the traffic. The elephant was driven away, but it continued to walk along the rails, and the train is not a car and can't go around it. So all the train driver had to do was continuously press the signal button and wait. The obnoxious brute delayed the train for 10 minutes, after which it was finally able to chase the animal off the rails. It was probably the first such incident in the train driver's practice, and for the passengers, it was a shocking experience of encountering a huge animal. Rhino. Rhinos are some of the most dangerous animals with many deaths on their conscience. This is largely due to their poor eyesight. They often mistake cars for potential opponents. These powerful animals can strike at anything or anyone. This curious car owner decided to film the amazing animals up close, but seemed oblivious or unaware of the rhino's particular aggressiveness. Having realized the potential danger, he decided to get away from that part of the road as fast as he could, but he failed. As soon as the car moved, the rhino struck the side of it with its sharp, powerful horn, leaving a reminder of this encounter in the form of a large dent. Goats. Not only large animals have the nerve to attack passing people, goats, with their strong, hard, and twisted sharp horns, are also not shy about entertaining themselves in an unusual way – dueling. These motorcycles were very unlucky. An animal watching them decided to brazenly stop them and push their motorcycle. Fortunately, there were no serious consequences, but the reason for the animal's aggressive behavior is unclear. Playing golf. I always thought it was something safe and relaxing at the same time. I guess it is, unless you play on this course in England. As witnesses say, this swan often attacks players from the back. Here, for example, it was walking past a player pretending it wasn't interested at all. But as soon as the man rolled the ball into the hole, the swan decided to attack the man. It's unclear what exactly made the bird angry. Maybe it was rooting for another player. And what I was rooting for was the driver of the car in the following video. More specifically, I was rooting for him to be okay. The first time you watch this video, it looks like the horse walked through the vehicle and didn't hurt it in any way, but that's not what happened. The vehicle was on the road, nothing portended trouble. Two horses running in its direction turned and ran around the car. But the third horse chose the shortest and most dangerous way, through the iron congener. Living nightmare. Many people think they're protected in their sleep, especially at home in a warm bed. I don't think so. Here's a prime example if you don't believe me. The protagonist of the video has long since stopped counting sheep and was flying in a deep sleep when suddenly a snake attacked her. The viper tried to get hold of the woman's leg, but fortunately the trouble was over. The shocked woman jumped out of bed, armed herself with a flashlight, and chased the reptile back outside. Camel attack. This animal is much harder to chase away with a simple flashlight, at least because it's several times taller than you. The footage shows a camel and its sudden attack. It's unclear what caused it, probably just a bad mood of the animal, or some inexperienced man decided to ride the tired cloven-hoofed animal. By the way, if you swing aboard a camel carelessly, it can really get angry and cause harm. Hippo. How do you see it? Probably a big, clumsy, slow animal that poses no danger to humans, right? In general, on the face of it, this is true. But in reality, the hippo's not so simple. There are many videos on the internet confirming that if a baby hippo is in danger or the parent itself is threatened by something, the animal acts with lightning speed. In addition, hippos are excellent swimmers and develop a speed of up to 8 miles per hour in the water. Tourists in a boat who were sailing in the waters of the Zimbabwe River were personally convinced of this. The animals swam out just about 3 feet from them and almost ended their sailing. Luckily, the boat sped up at that moment, and the hippo decided to back off, so no one was hurt. Hit the like button if you didn't think hippos could swim so fast, and well. A group of divers went further into the water to take pictures of the beautiful sea views and to relax. However, they couldn't relax. On the contrary, each of them experienced a second birthday. As for the views, the diver's friend shot something much more impressive. Literally a few yards from the guys, 2 huge whales surfaced. It remains a mystery how the divers were not caught in their jaws. In any case, such an unexpected event forced them to leave the water immediately and review the record. By the way, is it possible for a man to be swallowed by a whale? Yes and no. On the one hand, despite the giant size of the whale, the throat is very narrow, only about 4 inches in diameter. so all the stories about people who have been in whales' stomachs are urban legends. On the other hand, the whale could accidentally suck a person in while eating plankton, and the person could end up in its mouth. Sooner or later, the whale will spit the human out, but it would be better if it was sooner. Otherwise, the giant will go deep, and the person will die from loss of oxygen. Gorilla. Decades of research on these apes indicate that extreme caution should be exercised when interacting with them. At first, gorillas were looked upon exclusively as dangerous and cruel animals. Many movies about King Kong are a direct confirmation of this. But since the 70s of the last century, opinions began to change. Thanks to the studies of primatologists, they're no longer considered cruel and ruthless. Knowing this, a lover of forests and exotic photographs named Adrian went in the thick of things and somehow began to squeeze the little monkey. However, quite unexpectedly, the little monkey began to scream, which of course its mother quickly noticed. It immediately attacked Adrian without a second thought and took the baby back. The man miraculously didn't get into trouble and remained unharmed. His nerves of steel and the right decision saved him. What would you have done in such a case? Would you have kept cool or just tried to run away? Walking with rhinos. A man named Rian Boshoff and his friends traveled to South Africa to track a leopard. They drove past a national park in their car, and a white rhino didn't like the guests very much. The animal decided to teach the people a lesson and rushed in pursuit of the off-roader along with its congener that joined in for company. The dynamic and breathtaking footage shows the rhinos chasing the vehicle relentlessly for several minutes. Rhinos are not such slow creatures. For all their weight, they can run up to 31 miles an hour. All in all, Rian and his friends were lucky. Although they didn't find the leopard, they filmed a very cool chase. Polar bear. In search of new material for his channel, a reporter went to the North Pole and almost said goodbye to his life. As he was filming under the protection of a glass dome, a polar bear suddenly appeared and attacked the reporter's shelter for 50 minutes. Kudos to whoever built such a sturdy dome, the rescued man thought after the incident. Surprisingly, the man even managed to take high-quality pictures during the attack. That's what I call a professional. And how would you have behaved in his place? Would you have controlled your emotions or just closed your eyes and hope for the best? Hammerhead shark. This, in case you're not aware, is one of the most dangerous, vicious, and voracious members of the shark family, ranking third in the number of attacks on humans. The fisherman in this video definitely knew this fact when something incomprehensible first hit his kayak. A few seconds later, the boat shuddered again. The man turned around and saw a hammerhead fish circling around him, clearly looking for something to eat. The protagonist of the video took the only right decision. He took out a shovel and began to stun the fish, thereby scaring it away. It took more than 20 strokes for the hammerhead shark to finally retreat. In total, it followed him for about 1,600 feet. Elephant attack. The elephant is a large mammal that many people associate with something harmless and affectionate. In fact, in relation to humans, it is, as long as we don't pose a danger to the animal and its family. In this video, a group of tourists was traveling through Africa in a special off-roader. They caught sight of a large elephant and its calf crossing the road. Of course, everyone grabbed their cameras and took a picture to remember. But before they could even check to see if they'd gotten a good shot, the huge animal was already hurtling after the off-roader. Most likely, the creature thought the car could be dangerous for its herd, so it caught up with the vehicle and hit it to the screams of the passengers. At this point, the chase stopped. Apparently, elephant territory was over and no one else was in danger. Do not remain indifferent. That's what you can say about a brave surfer named James Taylor, who, while on vacation with his wife, happened to see a giant squid in the sea. The guy didn't squeal or immediately swim away because he noticed that there was something wrong with the creature. James's gut was right. The squid was hurt. Trying to help, the guy threw the mollusk a rope, but it chose a much more convenient way. It threw its tentacles on a board and, grasping it, made it to the shore. People quickly divided into two camps in the comments. The first praised the name of the hero in our time, who did not remain indifferent, while the second, on the contrary, thought that with this action, James has only made the squid worse. In any case, the mollusk unfortunately died. That happened already on the beach. What do you know about hippos? That they're big and never attack people? And what if I told you that you're wrong? Hippos are some of the most dangerous animals in Africa, and further, you'll find out why. The hippo is an extremely dangerous animal. It should be called the menace of Africa. It's surprising that for all of its violent nature and frequent attacks on animals and people, the hippo is traditionally considered a herbivore animal. But in fact, this is not entirely true. According to the latest classification of scientists, the hippo can be called a facultative predator. That is, it sort of eats grass, but if an opportunity turns up, it won't mind a couple pieces of meat. Here's the first proof. A few years ago, tourists filmed a brutal scene in southern Africa. A hippo approaching a swimming kudu antelope and clamped it in its teeth. Considering that hippo's fangs can reach 25 inches and even more in length, it's not surprising that the antelope quickly died. The hippo dragged the body to the shore and wanted to eat it, but the African wild dogs prevented it. The pack took the hippo's prey, had a snack, and hid it in the bushes. And here's a more obvious example. In the Kruger National Park, a rather rare picture was filmed. A hippo eating the meat of an animal. The prey was a zebra. It's not known whether the hippo finished it off itself or whether it was already dead by the time the giant came to the pond, but now we can see for ourselves that hippos will not give up carrion on occasion. But still, they prefer grass to meat. They rarely turn into predators. In this footage, we have an antelope again. These African creatures are the most pitiable. They're always being hunted. This time, the antelope was hunted by African wild dogs. Fleeing from them, the poor creature climbed up on a small island in the middle of the pond, but a crocodile had already started to lay claim to the antelope. The antelope passed by the predator, jumped into the water, and swam toward the shore. The crocodile rushed after it, but a hippo appeared. The crocodile grabbed the antelope, the hippo attacked it, and then the trio plunged into the water. Seconds later, the hippo surfaced. No more reptile or antelope in sight. It's unknown what the hippo was after. Either it wanted to feed on the antelope or it wanted to save it, but apparently it failed to do either. The reptile got the dainty. It's possible that the hippo intended to rescue the antelope. These giants may well be called defenders of the savanna. Despite their violent temper and predatory nature, they often come to the aid of those in need. In fact, they do it not out of generosity and kindness, but only to drive away predators from their territory. But in doing so, they often indirectly save innocent creatures. Here we have a crocodile and an antelope again. The reptile firmly grabbed the herbivore by the paw and dragged it into the water. The confrontation lasted long. The antelope was already injured and exhausted, when suddenly, at the last moment, two hippos came to its aid. The 4-ton giants quickly chased the crocodile away and saved the antelope. They did a good job, but it didn't play much of a role. In all likelihood, the antelope soon died, for it had suffered a very severe injury that would have made it almost impossible for it to defend itself against the savanna predators. Cows. In general, crocodiles and hippos have a strained relationship. They often have to share the same territory because hippos spend a lot of time in the water where crocodiles live. Hippos and crocodiles can be called neighbors who dislike each other very much. It manifests itself in different ways. For example, in this case, hippos decided to teach crocodiles a lesson by taking away their prey. A group of cows came to the waterhole, and the crocodiles immediately responded to the ringing of their bells. 3 of the reptiles headed toward the cows. One of the cows was careless, and the crocodile quickly grabbed it and dragged it under the water. It would seem that dinner is served. But it wasn't easy. 2 hippos soon arrived at the scene. They purposefully swam after the crocodiles and their prey, pushing the predators away from the cow. As in the case of the antelope, it's unclear whether the hippos wanted to save the cow or eat it, but one thing is certain, the hippos succeeded in ruining the crocodile's meal. Rhino. The rhino is another huge African animal. The rhino and the hippo are similar in many ways. Both are large, both are herbivores, and both boast a complex character. But hippos have a slight advantage in this respect. These creatures are more dangerous than rhinos and can sometimes even compete with them. In this video, the rhino got too close to the hippo's territory, its favorite body of water. The hippo opened its signature mouth with 36 sharp teeth, clearly letting the beast know to get out as soon as possible. This didn't convince the rhino and it cost it its life. The hippo climbed out of the water, was joined by its congener, and they began to fight with the rhino. One of the hippos sank its giant fangs into the rhino. Their sharpness and the strength of the hippo's jaw are enough to pierce the skin even of such an armored tank as the rhino. Soon the rhino fell and the hippo finished it off in the water. Against the buffalo. The third African giant herbivore is the buffalo. Like the hippo and the rhino, it's very aggressive, large, and dangerous. But the hippo is much more aggressive and powerful. In this footage, we see the hippo encountering the buffalo by the river. The hippo did not like such an encounter. As in the case with the rhino, the giant opened its mouth and began to intimidate the buffalo. Apparently, buffalo, like rhinos, do not understand hints. So the hippo had to proceed to action and drive the insolent creature from its territory. The hippo pushed the buffalo to the river, and only then it realized that it had messed with the wrong opponent. The buffalo was smarter than the rhino from the previous video, did not continue to fight, and ran away, saving its life. Buffaloes and rhinos are certainly worthy opponents, but hippos need something tougher, like a real predator, like a crocodile. I've already shown how hippos ruin crocodiles' lives by stealing their prey from them, but now let's look at the one-on-one situation. The hippo crept up behind the crocodile in the water and started poking at it with its huge head. You can see that the reptile doesn't really want to fight and swims away, but the hippo won't budge and keeps poking at the crocodile. It swims farther and farther after it, giving it no time to rest. Even when the crocodile makes it out of the pond onto dry land, the hippo doesn't let up. It continues to pester it on land with some biting. Perhaps that hippo only wanted to have a go at the crocodile or learn a little about its neighbor in the pond. But sometimes hippos get into real fierce fights with crocodiles. This crocodile made a serious mistake of getting into a body of water where several dozen hippos were resting. The herbivores clearly didn't appreciate the intruder and decided to teach it a lesson. They did what they wanted with it, stomping, crushing, throwing, and biting. Only by some miracle the crocodile was able to survive the humiliation and escape from the bloat of giants. At least that's what the cameraman who shot this video thinks. However, maybe the last attack was fatal for the crocodile, and it never made it out of that body of water. Lioness. Not only crocodiles, but also lions have a go at the hippos. The kings of the jungle are some of the most amazing predators in Africa, which fear almost no one. They rarely attack hippos, but sometimes they do pester them. In this footage, we see a lioness approaching a resting hippo. It poked the giant with its muzzle, awakening it instantly. The hippo would not tolerate such behavior, ran after the lioness and grabbed it by its head. The lioness's head would have been gone in an instant. The hippo would have squeezed it like a watermelon. But the lioness had time to bite the hippo's mouth and it loosened its grip for a second. This was enough. The predator broke free and ran away from the most dangerous herbivore in Africa. In a sense, hippos can be called not only herbivores but also freshwater animals because they spend a lot of time in ponds and rivers. There they figure things out, not only with crocodiles but also with sharks. It sounds improbable, but this is the truth. The fact is that there is an unusual bull shark. Unlike its congeners, this predator swims not only in the salty seas and oceans but also in freshwater rivers. Bad news for those who like to go to the river, but hippos don't mind even such dangerous neighbors. In this footage, the bull shark swam up to the hippo family. Apparently it wanted to stealthily attack one of the giants, but miscalculated and just crashed into it with its head. This made the animals very angry. The hippos decided to teach the insolent creature a lesson and tried to hit it. The shark realized that it had messed with the dangerous guys and hurried to leave the territory. From all the previous videos, you can understand that hippos are very friendly. They live in bloats and hold each other up. But every team has conflicts, and hippos are no exception. Sometimes they fight with each other, and they do it very brutally. For example, here is a typical fight between two male hippos. As you can see, it all comes down to their open mouths pressing against each other. It may look like hippos are fooling around or kissing, but that's how they figure things out with each other. It's very important to hold the open mouth very firmly. The one which mouth slips first will be pierced with fangs. After a fight, hippos leave the battlefield with injuries, as happened in this case. but usually such confrontations lead to the death of one of the males. Human. And lastly, let us look at least one hippo attack on a human. After all, hippos, not crocodiles, are considered the most dangerous large animals in Africa for humans. At least that's what the statistics say. Every year, hippos take the lives of at least 500 people. Crocodiles kill about half as many in the same period of time. Fortunately, this video was victimless, but not without damage. A driver was driving along the road in Kruger National Park in South Africa and ran into an obstacle, a hippo standing by the side of the road. As the car approached, the animal ran toward it and powerfully rammed the hood of the car. The driver screamed in horror. He was on the verge of death. It was a good thing he hadn't been injured himself, but look at what had become of his car. Only a real monster could have done that kind of damage. Now you understand why this particular beast is the most dangerous herbivore in Africa. Bears are the main beauties of many cartoons and children's fairy tales, but in real life, they're not all that kindly. Keep watching to see the craziest bear moments. Bear versus tiger. In India's Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve, wildlife photographer Arpit Parekh captured the Bengal tiger's fight with the sloth bear, considered the world's deadliest bear. Parekh was driving through the reserve and saw a tiger sleeping near a lake. He decided to take a few shots and stopped. However, after a few moments, the predator ran away into the bushes, from where screeching and growling sounded. Soon, the photographer saw that the 660-pound tiger was trying to fight the bear. The tiger threw the bear on its back, grabbed it with its teeth, and held it down with its paws. The bear resisted desperately, but couldn't get out of the powerful grip. The tiger managed to bite the bear. We thought the bear would give up, but soon the tiger got tired and let it go, the photographer said. Parekh then filmed the 300-pound sloth bear slowly retreating behind a tree from the pursuing tiger. Suddenly, the bear started running, turned around and sprinted toward the tiger, screaming. The sloth bear caught up with the tiger and bit its leg. After a tense struggle, the two animals decided to calm down and went their separate ways. According to Parekh, the tense confrontation between the predators lasted half an hour. The action took place just about a half a mile away from his car. Sloth bears are found in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. The sloth bear is up to 3 feet tall. These bears feed mainly on ants and termites. Despite their relatively modest size, they're considered one of the most dangerous bears in the world. Over the past 20 years, hundreds of Indian residents were killed and thousands more were injured as a result of the attacks by sloth bears. Bear versus walruses. The polar bear is the toughest predator of the north, which hunts various animals. It likes solitude, so it spends its days without a pack. And if it wants to eat, even a large colony of walruses doesn't stop it. This video captures an unusual case where a polar bear was hungry and began to bully animals, even though there were a large number of them. The polar bear is the main enemy of the walrus, but not all walruses can be attacked with ease. An adult and mature walrus itself can be a dangerous opponent. Its skin is very difficult to bite, and its fangs can cause severe wounds to the polar bear. So the white predator usually attacks the weakest individuals. In this case, a slight panic started in the herd of walruses, and they all moved towards the sea because there they feel safe. In order not to become prey, it's better for the walruses to be in the water. If a duel starts between two animals in the water, the walrus is likely to win. It's a sea animal that mainly lives in the water, which means that the walrus hunts there better than the polar bear. Walruses are more nimble and can swim out of the predator's clutches. The laws of nature are strict. One must fight to the end and preferably be persistent in order not to become a prey. You can't show your weakness to the predator, and if you're already in the clutches, you have to fight for life to the last. In this video, the polar bear is trying to approach the herd of walruses from different directions so that it can finally find its prey and get a delicious meal. The bear is very persistent. It's not afraid of the fact that there are many congeners around the chosen walrus, many of which are frightening with their huge fangs. It comes to the individuals positioned at the edge so as to not attract the attention of the other members of the herd. Nevertheless, several attempts of the white predator were unsuccessful. Walruses persistently escaped from the bear's teeth. Bear versus moose. The grizzly bear is a subspecies of the brown bear and one of the most ferocious and large predators on the planet. These animals are found in North America. Until 100 years ago, the population of this subspecies was very large, but as people began to settle in its habitat, the population of bears began to decline. Grizzlies became more aggressive and began attacking farmland and people. In the mid-20th century, mass shooting of this predator began, so its population decreased by 30 times. In this footage, you can see a bear and a moose having a spectacular race. The grizzly bear spotted the animal and, thinking it was an easy prey, chased it. The moose, realizing that things could turn badly, began to get away from it. The predator had an advantage running from the mountain and had time to gain speed, and the cloven-hoofed animal was climbing a mountain and was visibly tired. At first, the animals were running in deep snow. The moose was slower because its thin legs got stuck in the drifts. But the grizzly bear was more nimble. Powerful paws helped it. At one point, we could even hear the bear's menacing growl. But then the snow ended, and bare land appeared, behind which we could see the river. The moose picked up speed and raced toward the body of water. The bear chased its prey without slowing down. The moose reached the riverbank and went into the water, thinking that this would stop the chase. But the grizzly bear felt quite confident in the water. The river, looking about 650 feet wide, became a significant obstacle, but the moose turned out to be a good swimmer and managed to get away from the grizzly bear. The bear swam about 330 feet and then gave up. Later, the bear returned to shore and waited for a new dinner. The whole race lasted no more than a minute and a half, but almost cost the cloven-hoofed animal its life. Bear versus hog. In America's Great Smoky Mountains National Park, a group of stunned hikers saw a black bear and a feral hog fight each other not far from the roadway. The fight lasted more than 10 minutes and consisted mostly of the relentless bear trying to drag the squealing hog by the head. The footage shows several drivers intentionally stopping to watch the clash. Among them was avid hunter Philip Talbot. You can hear him in the video warning others in his group not to get out of the car. The man said his group spent 5 hours traveling through the national park, but the best part of the trip was at the end when they got to watch a fight between the bear and the feral hog. When he first noticed movement on the side of the road, he thought it was a couple of young bears fighting each other. However, it turned out to be much more dangerous, and eventually both lanes of traffic were blocked off as drivers wanted to see what was getting everyone's attention. As the fight went on, both animals got more and more tired, but as you can understand, the bear refused to give up. In the end, the hog can be seen stunned and paralyzed in a ditch of muddy water, while the bear stands victoriously atop the slope. Bear versus wolves. In Yellowstone National Park, eyewitness Mike Godfrey filmed a grizzly bear clash with a pack of wolves. The cause of the clash was the carcass of a bison that had been killed by wolves. The grizzly bear smelled the meat and decided to taste it. According to the author of the video, clashes for prey between these two predators are not rare. More often than not, it's the bear that wins the fight because it's the largest land predator in North America. A grizzly bear can single-handedly deal with a pack of 7 wolves. However, this time the opponent was much more numerous. The Junction Butte pack has 20 wolves, and it's one of the largest, most famous, and close-knit wolf packs in the park. The bear took a long time to get close to the pack and reach the wolves that were farthest from the prey. They tried to chase it away, but the bear moved on. However, then the fight escalated. More and more wolves began to fight back against the bear. The pack united to chase the stranger away. I thought I knew the outcome of this battle, but I was wrong. Both sides survived to continue the battle the day after the first skirmish, the eyewitness said. It's worth noting that the Junction Butte pack makes up about 1/5 of all the wolves that live in Yellowstone National Park. It's only been 27 years since the wolves returned to the national park and the state of Idaho. In 1930, the population was exterminated because wolves were considered dangerous to humans. As you can see, bears are not afraid to engage and fight with many dangerous creatures. However, not all bears are so cruel and belligerent. For example, the sun bear is the most harmless of its relatives. The fact is that it's the smallest bear in the world. It's less than 4.5 feet in length and weighs only about 143 pounds. On the chest of the bear, there's a large whitish or red spot in the form of a horseshoe, which resembles the rising sun, hence the name of the species. Some people even keep this bear at home as a pet. The trend of having the sun bear as a pet is popular in Asian countries. The sun bear has a lot of hair around the neck, which is arranged in folds, which makes it look like a Shar-Pei. Therefore, it's also sometimes called a dog bear for this reason. The lines around the neck provide protection from other predators. If anything, sun bears can easily slip out of their clutches, so sun bears, though small and harmless, can protect themselves. The sun bear lives in subtropical forests in the mountains of South and East Asia. These bears love to climb trees. Bushes are not an obstacle for this animal. The bear easily overcomes them, jumping from one plant to another. Trees serve it not only as a way to move, but also as a place where it can build its home. It makes its bed high above the ground. This is its hiding place from terrestrial inhabitants. The sun bear has a very long tongue, like the anteater. It doesn't mind eating termites, but most of all, the sun bear likes honey and fruit. So it's not surprising that these bears make their home in trees. The greatest danger to the sun bear is posed by humans. The predators are caught and kept in captivity for people's own profit. Not only the animal's fur is valuable, but also its heart and bile. Components obtained from its cells are used in traditional Oriental medicine. It's not known exactly how many animals there are in the world today, but I want to believe that the number will only grow. That's it for today. What from this episode struck you the most? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.